my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prem emanates, and by him neediness is destroyed. Scripture saying his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give your lotus, and all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Bandan Mui Savadana Mate Bandan Mui Savadana Mate Yahara Prasade Bahai E Bhavatori Jai Yahara Prasade Bahai E Bhavatori Krishna Prapti Aya Oite Krishna Prapti Haya Oite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Anara Kariha Mane Asha Anara Kariha Mane Asha Guru Charane Rati Ese Samagati. Ye prasade pure sarva asha. Ye prasade pure sarva asha. Chaku dandilo ye, janme Prabhu say. Chaku dandilo ye, janme Prabhu say. Ruba. Jivye gani de bakashita. Jivye gani de bakashita. Prema bhaktiya hoite avidya vinasayate. Prema bhaktiya hoite avidya vinasayate. Vede gaya haracharita. Vede gaya haracharita. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Na Prabhu Koradaya Deya More Parachaya. Na Prabhu Koradaya Deya More Parachaya. Ebaya Shukti Bhuvana. Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nibhisesa Shunyavadi Pasyachari Shatarine. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Sham. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Sham Sundar Radha, Sham Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radha, Sham Sundar Radha, Sham Sundar Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jai Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo. Jai Gaur Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Gaur Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Radhe Shyam Sundar ki jai, Gaura Premanandi. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Stodara Sata Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Stodara Sata Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Prananakori Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Se Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Sri Nam Sankirtan Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
today so I can get it. Hare Krishna. Welcome, everyone. Tuesday is my favorite day because there's so many kids in the temple room. It's so fantastic. Future leaders of ISKCON, Ki Jai, Haribo. So I read you a little something from the new Back to Godhead magazine, which is on newsstands now. You can get it at Govinda's Gifts on Sunday. You can also get a subscription. If you don't get it to your home mailbox, you can get that at Govinda's Gifts also. So this is from a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave. He said, "What is the objective of this Krishna consciousness movement? It is a process for purification of consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Avinashi tu tadvidi yena sarvamidam tatam. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. There are two kinds of consciousness. One consciousness is limited and the other consciousness is unlimited. The unlimited consciousness is there in God, and the limited consciousness is there in you, in me, and in all living entities. If I pinch your body, you feel pain. This is consciousness. Somebody is pinching me. But if I pinch somebody else, you cannot feel it. Therefore, your consciousness or my consciousness is limited to this body. Similarly, there is another consciousness, which is Krishna's consciousness or universal consciousness. If I pinch your body, Krishna, as Paramatma, the Supersoul, feels that I am pinching somebody. These are things that are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, which is where you can go to learn more about it. So I want to remind you that today is Tuesday. There's Jiva Dharma class in the temple room this evening, and Thursday there is a Srila Prabhupada Katha in the temple room with Govinda Dasi. So both evenings right after 6:30 Artik. Bibatsu Prabhu is in the hospital. Many of you may know that he is ill, and he's in there for at least a week, I understand. So it's the VA hospital. He's in room 353. His name is Brian Peterson. He is welcoming visitors. So if anyone would like to visit him and you want this information again, just call the temple office. We'll have it there. Reminding you that next week is already Thanksgiving and Festival of the Holy Name. So prepare for those things. We have community dinner at the temple. If that's something you'd like to do, you can get your tickets at the gate, and they're cheaper if you get them online. And these are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master dressing the deities today. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar Akuti Prabhu, Chota Radha Sham Sundar Madhuri Gopi Prabhu, Shishi Krishna Balaram Astasaki Prabhu, Chota Krishna Balaram, Govinda Mohini Prabhu, Shishi Gornatai Sharala Prabhu, Chota Gornatai Leela Prabhu, Gurus and Lord Nishingadev, Ram Narayan Prabhu, and Avaduta Natai Prabhu. And Tamahar Prabhu is giving class today. Oh yeah, today is Ekadasi. I knew that. I figured you knew that too. Today is Ekadasi.
Gopi Janna Bahalaba Giravarid Hari Gopi Janna Bahalaba Giravarid Hari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjanaya Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bharvaja Kachara Sotera Sadashi Shimnis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Chari Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nandakot Vaishnavinda Ki Jai All glories to Simple devotees, all glories to Simple devotees, all glories to Simple devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Garanga Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasabhagale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Sir Sotadem Gauravani Bacharni Nirvisheshi Shunyavadi Paschachadi Shitarani Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 54, The Marriage of Krishna and Rukmini, and we are reading 27 through 35, and we'll chant responsively. Is 34 the one they prepared for? 34? Okay, we'll do 34. Okay. So I'll just start with text 27. I'm just going to read the English, because we have a lot of verses to go through. The Lord struck Rukmi's 4 horses with 8 arrows, his chariot driver with 2, and the chariot's flag with 3. Rukmi grabbed another bow and struck Lord Krishna with 5 arrows. So we're right in the middle of the battle scene here between Krishna and Rukmi. 28. Although hit by these many arrows, Lord Achyuta again broke Rukmi's bow. Rukmi picked up yet another bow, but the infallible Lord broke that one to pieces as well. Iron bludgeon, 3-pointed spear, sword and shield, pike, javelin, whatever weapon Rukmi picked up, Lord Hare smashed it to bits. Jai. Then Rukmi leaped down from his chariot and sword in hand, rushed furiously toward Krishna to kill him, like a bird flying into the wind. As Rukmi attacked him, the Lord shot arrows that broke Rukmi's sword and shield into small pieces. Krishna then took up his own sharp sword and prepared to kill Rukmi. Seeing Lord Krishna ready to kill her brother, saintly Rukmini was filled with alarm. She fell at her husband's feet and piteously spoke as follows. Shri Rukmini said, O controller of all mystic power, immeasurable one, Lord of lords, master of the universe, O all-auspicious and mighty-armed one, please do not kill my brother. So we'll do text 34. Shri Shukavacha Tayar Paritrasa Vikampitan Gaya Shuchavashushan Mukarudha Kantaya Katarya Vishram Sita Hema Malaya Grihita Pada Karuno Nivartata Shri Shukuvacha Taya Paritrasa Vikampitan Gaya Shuchavashushan Mukha Rudha Kantaya Patarya Vishram Sita Hema Malaya. Grihita Pada Karuno Nivartata. Shri Shugovacha. Taya Paritrasa Vikampitangaya. Shucha Vashushan Mukarudha Kantaya. Katarya Vishram Sita Hema Malaya. Grihita Pada Karuno Nivartita. Ladies. Students? Okay, thank you. Word for word. Sri Shukavacha. Shukadev Goswami said, Taya, by her, Paritrasa, in total fear, Vikampita, trembling, Angaya, whose limbs, Shucha, out of sorrow, Avushushat, drying up, Mukha, whose mouth, Rudha, and choked, Kantaya, whose throat, Katarya, in her agitation, Vishramsita, disheveled, Hema, golden, Malaya, whose necklace, Grihita, held, Pada, his feet, Karuna, compassionate, Nyavavarta, he desisted. Translation and purport by disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami said, Rukmini's utter fear caused her limbs to tremble and her mouth to dry up, while her throat choked up in sorrow, out of sorrow. And in her agitation, her golden necklace scattered. She grasped Krishna's feet, and the Lord, feeling compassionate, desisted. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes the worldly rule that one's sister is the personification of mercy, Dayaya Bhagini Murti. Even though Rukmini was wicked and was opposed to his sister's best interest, Rukmini was compassionate toward him, and the Lord shared her compassion. And the last verse in this that we to complete today, text 35. Lord Krishna tied up the evildoer with a strip of cloth. He then proceeded to disfigure Rukmini by comically shaving him, leaving parts of his mustache and hair. By that time, the Yadu heroes had crushed the extraordinary army of their opponents, just as elephants crush a lotus flower. Purport, Lord Krishna used the same sharp sword to give the wicked Rukmini a peculiar haircut. Om Jnanatimrandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chaksarunitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitano Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we have a very interesting, exciting story here, another one of these wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna, this time completely defeating Rukmini as he steals Rukmini from the marriage ceremony to Shishupal. And it's very interesting here because he totally defeats Rukmini with all of his arrows. He takes his sword up, he's about to kill him, but Rukmini intercedes at that point. And she falls at his feet and begs out of compassion for Krishna to spare Rukmini. And of course, so he does. But he also gives him this haircut. He cuts off pieces of his hair and mustache. And actually, in the purport a little further, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that because he's using his sword, he also cut him up a little bit, so he's really a mess. And so Rukmini is utterly humiliated, but his life is spared. So we have not only a very exciting story here, another gallant pastime of Krishna defeating the demons, but also a very, very important point about compassion. Because here we see that both Rukmini and Krishna displayed this quality of compassion. A couple other points here that they're also mentioned by the acharyas. In verse 32, it's mentioned that it said that she was very fearful, but it's explained that she wasn't so much fearful for the loss of her brother. She wasn't, she knew he was a demon, basically. It wasn't really that attached to him. It's actually described she was really more fearful that how would it look if her brother was killed right in front of her, it wouldn't be a very good situation. So she didn't want that to happen. And also, in verse 33, Rukmini calls Krishna Deva Deva Jagatpate, master of the universe and mighty armed. And what she's doing is she's contrasting his very elevated position with the very insignificant position of Rukmini. In other words, Krishna is Lord of everything. Rukmini is this insignificant, little demon that he's defeated. So because he is also part of the universe and Krishna is Jagatpate, part of the universe, then he should also protect Rukmini. Rukmini is suggesting by the use of these words, it's been explained. And then in verse 34, it says this mention of the worldly rule of the compassion of the sister. In other words, apparently there's some Sanskrit quoted here. I couldn't find any other reference to this particular phrase, but apparently it's some common understanding, I guess, in Vedic culture that the sister is very compassionate towards the brother. So it'd be naturally that Rukmini would be compassionate towards her brother, and she would follow that process, even though she really didn't care for Rukmini very much after everything he had done to her. But what we see here is, as is described, the Rukmini shows this great compassion, even to someone who has harmed her, who has actually not worked in her interest, in fact, has worked totally against her best interest, tried to separate her from Krishna, which is demonic in itself, but yet she shows compassion, and Krishna also shows compassion to Rukmini. So this word karuna is used here, which means compassion or mercy, very important quality of both Krishna and Krishna's great devotees, such as Radharani and Rukmini. Okay, now it's time to wake up. Can you think of any other names of Krishna that express some of these qualities? What are some other names that we hear of Krishna that express qualities? Yes. What is it? Nitai? What quality would that express? Not sure there, Nitai. Okay, try another one. What? Govinda. And that quality is? What does that mean? Well, it says, but basically he's what? The protector of the cows and the Brahmins, right? Master of the cows, the Brahmins, and the senses, right? Is Govinda. Yeah. Patita Pavana. Who said that? Oh, you knew that one. What does Patita Pavana mean? Most merciful to the fallen. And that name is specifically often given to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Patita Pavana. Yes. Gopal? What does Gopal mean? So you have to know what these mean. You got to think of the name, but also what quality, what does it mean? Yes.
It means to take care of the cows.
One who takes care of the cows, yes. Yeah. Any others? Can you think of any of these qualities kind of like karuna, like mercy, merciful? Yes, Lilananda. Dina Bandhu, which means friend of the poor. Yeah, and we know devotees named Dina Bandhu, right? And that's a name of Krishna as the friend of the poor. Any others like that you can think of? Some of you probably have names like that you're not even thinking of. Yes. Keshava means? I didn't hear. Protector. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Very good. Vraj Mohan. What does that mean? King of Vraja. Okay. Advaita? Abhicharan. Abhicharan, one who's fearless, right? Abhicharavinda, fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. Yes. Okay. So Krishna has many, many names. Sometimes even here, he's different names. He's been called here Achyuta, and means infallible, and then we had mighty armed, and so many different names and qualities of Krishna. But this one is a particularly interesting one, because Krishna's quality of compassion is very, very important to the devotees. Without that quality of compassion that Krishna has, what would be our situation? We'd be here in the material world with very little hope. How would we ever get out of this material world? How would we ever overcome the three modes of material nature? How would we ever have spiritual knowledge? We're completely covered over in this material world. But Krishna has compassion for us. Krishna has compassion, and he manifests as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had the greatest compassion for the living entities. Lord Chaitanya also, why is he compassionate? Whose mood is he in? Whose mood does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come in? And the children say? Radharani, right? It's Krishna in the mood of Radharani comes as Lord Chaitanya. So this quality of mercy and compassion is most manifested in Radharani, or Rukmini, who is a manifestation. I think there's another step in between, but basically we can say Rukmini is an expansion or manifestation of Radharani. So I'm going to read a little something about Radharani and this compassion. This is from Srila Prabhupada's purport in the second canto, 2.2.23. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that the Lord is never to be found to be becoming... I'm sorry, I'll try that again. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that the Lord is never to be found by becoming a great scholar of the Vedic literatures, but he's very easily approachable through his pure devotee. In Vrindavan, all the pure devotees pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. Srimati Radharani is a tender-hearted feminine counterpart to the supreme whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Therefore, the mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once she recommends such a devotee to Lord Krishna, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. So if you want to go back home, back to Godhead, if you want to be with Krishna, who do you need to go through to? What did we just read? Radharani, yes. In other words, the devotees specifically can pray for the mercy of Radharani. And as it's described, if one pleases Radharani, then Radharani will recommend one to Krishna. Prabhupada said this several times, right? He said that, if Radharani becomes pleased with you, says, Krishna, here's this very nice devotee, and introduces you to Krishna. So, very important to get this mercy of Radharani. So the devotees take shelter of Radharani. Of course, we take shelter of Krishna. We also take shelter of the spiritual master, because the spiritual master also exemplifies this mercy quality of Krishna. So Krishna expands his mercy and his compassion in many ways through many energies. And one of the ways, besides the expansion of Radharani, the internal potency, is also through the guru, or the spiritual master. And that mercy of Krishna comes through the line of disciplic succession directly from Krishna through the parampara, as we saw through Srila Prabhupada, and he extended his mercy to all of us. And then, of course, that mercy continues on through Srila Prabhupada's followers. So the reason that this parampara exists, and you could almost say, in other words, why are all of these spiritual masters coming? Why are these different, why do incarnations of Krishna come? Why does Krishna send his scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? It is because of his mercy and his compassion for fallen conditioned souls. Otherwise, why would he even bother? Why would he bother with this material world where all of us conditioned souls came who basically were rebellious of him? Basically, we came here because we thought we had a better idea. We thought, well, maybe I can be Krishna. Maybe I can enjoy like him. Why should I be the servant? And as soon as one starts thinking that way, here we are, into the material world. So Krishna knows that coming to this material world gives us an opportunity to try to enjoy independently of him, but he also knows that we will become frustrated by that, and we'll experience not only the happiness that is here in this material world, but even more so the distress. Even more so the suffering and the unhappiness that is always here in the material world. And we always experience birth, death, disease, and old age. So Krishna, feeling that compassion for the living entity, waits for us to show some sign that we want to come back to him, that we want to understand God again. And then he very mercifully guides us through the spiritual master in the process of devotional service. So I was thinking about this quality of compassion or mercy. And this quality is there, of course, in not only in Krishna, but in his devotees. It's described as one of the godly qualities in the Bhagavad Gita 16.2. Well, it's not exact, it's a little bit different word. Daya Bhuteshu says that one should have mercy towards all living entities. This is one of the godly qualities that is there. So a devotee has mercy towards all living entities. So if we think of this word compassion, or mercy. One definition I saw in the dictionary said pity or sympathy or empathy, but that's not quite complete. Empathy usually means identification with, and you experience the feelings, thoughts, or attitudes of another. In other words, if I have empathy for you, I'm able to understand, have some feeling for how you're feeling, what your thoughts and feelings are. But compassion is actually a little deeper than empathy, because here's another, actually a very good definition that was out of another dictionary. It says a deep awareness of the suffering of another coupled with the wish to relieve it. So this is, I think, a very good definition of how we often talk about compassion in the spiritual sense. So there are two parts to this definition. One, that one understands the suffering of another, and secondly, that one wants to relieve that suffering. Now, understanding the suffering of another, that is something that is not always so easy to do. Normally we tend to have some sense that another person is suffering, but we can see that in the material world, many people have this inability to see outside of their own frame of reference. And if one is very extreme in this, we call these personality disorders. If one is not able to actually empathize with another person or have any sense of compassion or sense of the suffering of another, of course, in extreme sense, we have things like narcissistic personality disorder, where one sees everything in terms of oneself. How does this relate to me? How do I benefit from it? How does this somehow, how do I get something out of the situation with another person? And people who relate to other people like this, in an extreme sense, it's actually a disorder. But to some degree, it's fairly common in the material world. Everybody acts this way to some degree. People tend to be self-centered. They tend to look towards their own interests. Now, of course, we should look towards our own real self-interest, which is the spiritual interest. But most people are looking just at their material interest. How can they benefit? How can they get ahead? How can they advance? How can they experience greater happiness or greater pleasure? How can I make more money? And usually there's not very little concern with the needs of others. Now, some people begin to understand that a little bit, and they also may have some desire to relieve the suffering of others. Some people are more in the mode of goodness. They're more philanthropically inclined or more inclined towards trying to do good for others. So sometimes we see these people in the world too. They do charities, they do collections, they do some drive to help people or help the homeless or whatever. And these are all good things to do. This is more in the mode of goodness. This takes one outside of oneself a little bit, which is also beneficial to one's spiritual life, to become not quite so self-absorbed, and to want to relieve the suffering of others. Of course, this is a material understanding. The devotee has a spiritual understanding of true compassion. And true compassion is when we want to help people get out of the suffering condition of the material world, when we want to help to bring them to Krishna, bring them to the real position of Krishna consciousness. So, one of our best examples in our Vaishnava literatures, of course, is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is one of our exemplars of compassion. So in the 7th canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad said, this is after Lord Nrsimhadev has killed Hiranyakasipu, and he has pacified him, and he's praying to the Lord. And he says, O best of great personalities, I am not afraid of all of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in your thoughts and glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. So this is the mood of the devotee, mood of great compassion. And of course we know Prahlad Maharaj further manifests this mood in his when he appeared in Chaitanya Leela. Any of the students know who Prahlad Maharaj was in Chaitanya Leela? That's a hard one. Let's go to the adult side. Anybody? Vasudev Datta, right? Vasudev Datta was the incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj who came to Chaitanya Lila, and we know he exemplified this greatest sense of compassion. Vasudev Datta actually said, I want to stay in this material world. I want to take on the karma of every living entity so they can all be freed from their material suffering, and I will stay here and suffer for them. And he's serious about it. Now, most of us, if we said that, sure, it might be kind of a, kind of an empty gesture. But this is the deep, deep understanding and true compassionate nature of an exalted Vaishnava devotee of the Lord. The Vaishnavas are willing to take so much difficulty and so much trouble to help others. And we saw this in Srila Prabhupada, who came at an old age. Everyone discouraged him. Everyone said, no, you shouldn't go, the ship, trip alone will kill you. But despite all of these obstacles, having heart attacks on his way over, not really being in very good health, Prabhupada just persisted amongst all difficulties, and for one reason, and that was to bring Krishna consciousness to the Western people on the order of his spiritual master. So, this is the compassion of the devotee, and it's obviously something that we should develop, but we don't always feel that way. We don't always feel paradukha dukhi, that I'm only feeling unhappiness from the unhappiness of others. We obviously have many times when we don't feel this way so much. So we need to develop compassion to some degree. And for no other reason than to follow the orders and instructions of our spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada's mission, and follow that mission of trying to help the conditioned souls in this material world. So I was thinking, how are some of the ways that we can develop compassion? Of course, it is there naturally, an advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, but we also need to develop knowledge. We have to understand very clearly how this material world is a place of suffering. We need to become convinced of that. We need to hear our scriptures and hear the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and really understand the situation. Sometimes if we're not really regularly hearing the philosophy, we can easily kind of get lulled into a sense of, well, things aren't so bad, and and especially if we don't have a good association with devotees, we can forget the suffering condition of the living entities. Particularly because if devotees are a little bit in the living in the mode of goodness, may not be experiencing so much suffering, but the suffering is there for people all around us. Secondly, we need to practice. We need to practice giving that compassion to others. It actually works. When one takes up preaching to the non-devotees, that compassion develops within the heart. It's something that we experience. And, when Sri Vrindavan is trying to get everyone to go out to those book tables and take up our book distribution, yes, it will help the conditioned souls, but it will also help us. More than anything, it helps us that when we take that up, when we actually take up the preaching mission of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, because we experience that. We actually experience that compassion within our hearts when we see how people can be benefited by these books. And so, as we attempt to preach, as we attempt to give Krishna consciousness, and all it takes is the attempt. It's not quantifiable in terms of some huge success. You don't have to distribute 200 books if you go out in a day. You make some attempt, then Krishna gives guidance from within and purifies one. And we can see, the condition of the living entities, and we can see how they're misguided. I was recently, this last few days, I was up in Alabama and Mississippi, which are really prime preaching areas, believe it or not. Here we are in the deep south, but devotees are everywhere. And so we did some programs at the University of Alabama and Mississippi State, which was interesting. They had this huge football game going on, I could see that there were so many sincere people that were everywhere, and of course many of them are misguided. Impersonalism is there throughout, everywhere, People who are interested in different yoga and many of our Indian community, they've been very contaminated by impersonalism, but they're often very sincere. Somehow they're sincere because they're attracted to chanting, they're attracted to prasadam, they want to hear the Bhagavad Gita, but yet they've been misguided. And this is exactly what Prabhupada came for. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, to try to overcome this impersonalism and voidism, which is throughout this whole society. And so you see that that's there. But you also see, as Prabhupada said, 90% of the people are innocent. They're not demoniac. They're innocent. They've been misguided. They've been misled. They have not been given real knowledge. They're either misguided by impersonalism, or they're misguided by material science, or whatever it may be, whatever people are following. But if they're given the opportunity for true knowledge, many of them will take it. Of course, many don't. Prabhupada said, if you're selling diamonds, there may not be so many customers. Right? Govinda, you probably don't sell huge diamonds every day in your store, do you? Only a few customers want a very valuable gem, or are willing to pay for it. They may want one, but they're not so willing to pay. So it's like that in spiritual life. But the fact is, because they are a little bit innocent, they may take to Krishna consciousness to some degree. They may not immediately accept our philosophy, but even if they take a book, they take some prasadam, they hear the chanting of the holy name, any way that they come in contact with this movement, they become purified, and they gain some little advancement in Krishna consciousness. So, through our practice of Krishna consciousness, our hearing of the philosophy, and our attempts to preach Krishna consciousness, our conviction develops and our faith will become more strong. And then, as one makes some advancement, through that conviction, one becomes more and more free of material desires. And that's the stage where real compassion develops. Because if we are one's heart becomes soft as one becomes free of material desire and becomes more and more Krishna conscious. It's the absorption often in our own issues that prevents our compassion for others. If we become overly concerned about our own situation, I'm always worried about, what's happening to me and my problems, and this hurts, and, as you get older, you start talking that way a lot more about what hurts and what your current, pain level is. But, the more we're absorbed in that, the less we become absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and the less we'll be absorbed in this concern and compassion for others, to give Krishna consciousness to others. So we need to sort of make that leap. We have to, it's a little austerity to get out of our comfort zone and try to give Krishna consciousness to others wherever we can. And we'll find not only that they'll benefit the conditioned souls, but we'll find great benefit for ourselves. Okay, I'll stop at that point. Are there any questions, comments, thoughts? Chitari?
You were asking us how we can develop more compassion, and the one thing I always remember is that that if there's anyone, as we go about our day, if there's anyone in the world who's unhappy, that takes away from our ability to actually think, everything's great, I mean, just one person that's suffering, and now it's everywhere. There's so much suffering, and so like what you're saying, if we just relieve just one person, just give them a book or give them a smile or some prasadam, there's actually a perceivable relief of our, I feel it, a perceivable relief of my own suffering whenever I do that,
Yeah, and isn't it interesting how it sort of like takes away from our own self-concerns and, immediately by showing that concern to others. Yeah. No, thank you very much. Very nice. Yes, behind and then...
Hare Krishna, thank you for a nice class and the thoughts on compassion. I have one question. You mentioned a lot about compassion for, the non-devotees. My question is, compassion of devotees for devotees as individuals and as an institution towards the members that are presently practicing Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was thinking about talking about that, but I just, I thought I could only get in so many things today and to end at one class, but I think that's equally important, if not more important, how we actually relate and to other devotees, and we show that compassion. It's a very long topic, but I think that it's something that we certainly should be aware of and remember. Sometimes that can be a tendency, that we're compassionate to everybody else, but then somebody, in other words, we want all these people to become devotees, and they become a devotee, and then we don't care for them so much, or we don't treat them so well. What's the point in trying to make people devotees then if we're not going to keep them, or if we're not going to, have that concern and compassion for them? So it's a very good point. Did you want to say anything more about it, or? Okay. Yes, Prangavan?
I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada in Jaravara story, you have given very nice class. You hit one point, I hope everybody caught it. I never thought that Srila Prabhupada distinctly defined what is sense gratification and what is compassion. So in the 5th canto, 8th chapter, I believe verse 7, was a very famous verse. He says in the purport that compassion of Maharaj Jaravara towards the deer was the reason of his falling down. Is the beginning of his falling down. And it was not a compassion, it was a sense gratification. So making other people happy is not our goal. But Prabhupada writes, our goal is to raising them from the material platform to spiritual, Krishna conscious platform. That is the real compassion. Otherwise, Maharaj Bharat, he displayed his compassion to raise these kids who had no children, no parents, no brother, sister, alone, lost. But he lost two things, Prabhupada writes. He said one thing, he did not remember that everything belongs to Krishna, everything is for Krishna's pleasure. The compassion has to be based on that. And the second point, he says, a preacher must know why the soul are suffering here in this world and what is the goal of life. And if they don't proceed towards that, what will be the outcome? These two things always should be in the mind in order to display compassion. Otherwise, Prabhupada writes, one will fall down while displaying compassion.
No, that's a very, very good point about what true compassion is. It has to be on the spiritual platform, not on the material bodily platform. It's interesting, of course, in that story, then his next lifetime as Jadu Bharat, we see he preached very, very strongly to Maharaj Rahugana. In fact, even almost like just, bluntly, and showed none of that sort of more sentimental compassion. In other words, he learned that lesson. So in his next life, he wasn't sentimental at all, and he was very, very direct, and Maharaj Rahugana appreciated and accepted it and became purified, and he became an advanced devotee. Yes, Madhusudhan?
I mean, the main ways that Srila Prabhupada showed us to demonstrate compassion was Harinam. In that way, it's elevating everyone, everywhere, all over the world is the way I heard it. The sound vibration moves. Also distributing prasadam, that's also helps everyone, and of course, book distribution. And there was one story that I remember when I first heard it, kind of amazed me. Srila Prabhupada was at the airport, and devotees had brought him a tray of fruit, and, nuts, different kinds of prasadam. Prabhupada took a little bit, and then the devotee said he was going to go and, bring it to the non-devotees. And that's where Prabhupada spoke the famous line, no, give it to the devotees, charity begins at home. So important to take care of our devotees.
Govinda Das here saying, I was just thinking about the point about prasadam distribution, how important it was. I remember there's one remembrance tape where Dhananjaya says how at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, when Prabhupada was there, his parents came and visited, and he showed him around, and he spent a day with them, and he told Prabhupada, my parents came and visited, and Prabhupada said, did they get prasadam? And he says, no, there wasn't any available. Prabhupada said something like, then the whole visit is wasted. Or, in other words, was it something very, very strong like that? If you didn't take the opportunity to give them prasadam, then what was the point? Govindadasi?
Whenever we first were sent to Hawaii to preach, of course, we went to visit Srila Prabhupada in L.A. In the early 70s. And as we were leaving, he began to say, go and preach. The people are suffering. They do not know they're suffering, but they're suffering from lack of Krishna consciousness. And tears came down his face. And you felt this incredible mood of compassion, of preaching. I mean, it was true from the heart compassion. And it was communicated to us by his incredible spiritual potency. So I always think of that one.
Thank you so much. It's always so wonderful to hear from the devotees who were with Srila Prabhupada and actually saw Srila Prabhupada's compassion displayed in front of you like that. So thank you so much for that. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.